Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest installment of the Beaxy Exchange AMA series. My name is Steven Sophocleus, the Director of Marketing for Beaxy. I want to give a quick shout out to our community for providing a robust set of questions for today's participants, which include our Chairman, Brian Peterson, our Co-Presidents, Bay Abbott and Nick Murphy, and Naeem, our Head of Listings. I hope you find their answers today to be valuable and informative. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Naeem.
Question one for Bay. Is Beaxy focusing on bringing in a few traders or a large number of smaller users? Probably both, but where is the main focus?
That's a good question. So I think the short answer is that we're focused on both. The current state of where things are at in the business, we are more geared towards retail at this point in time. Obviously, as things grow, we will bring in more larger traders that do larger sizes. So Naeem, is the Beaxy token going to be listed on other exchanges?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we're not averse to purely because, we would love to give people more venues to trade the Beaxy token. With that said, it is a conversation that we continue to have with other exchanges, and when the opportunity arises to list the Beaxy token on another exchange, that's something that we are more than open to pursuing in due course.
So, Nick, will Beaxy be adding additional trading bot integrations to the exchange?
Of course. So we are currently working with a variety of different bot providers to help them integrate. But at the same time, we do have open API documentation that anybody can write into and run their own scripts, their own algos, their own strategies as well. But not only just REST and WebSockets, we also have Fix API. So yes, there will be more and more bot integrations coming.
So Brian, when will ACH Fiat be available?
So ACH is a feature that allows users to transfer funds at very little cost to US banks. We're working closely with our Fiat provider, Prime Trust, and with their third-party ACH provider to get this integrated. The team is actively working on it, and as soon as it's done, we'll put it out into the public so that you can use ACH on Beaxy.
Yeah, so the next question we had that came up was, for Brian, if you're looking to get more volume, why don't we try to access new traders in the form of obtaining licensing in the 7 US states that you don't currently service?
So the reason that Beaxy today is only in certain US states is because of the patchwork of regulation that goes with money service businesses and money transmitter licenses in the United States. Just in the last week, 49 US states have announced a consolidated regulatory environment for having a single licensing regime for money transmitter businesses and money servicing businesses. So Beaxy is actively looking to follow this new regulatory regime and to sign up for this new model where we would have access to 49 US states under the new model.
Thanks, Brian.
So the next question is for Bay. So Bay, when will we get push notifications on our phones for when a trade is filled?
Great. So yeah, push notifications are obviously pretty influential, right? I mean, I get push notifications to my phone. I immediately open the app, check out what's going on. So this is a pretty exciting feature. We are in testing for this feature right now, and they will be released as testing concludes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So Naeem, is there an average expected timeline for initial contact with a listable asset to the said asset being fully tradable on the exchange?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good question because it probably gives people insight into the listings process overall. So, I mean, this can probably be answered in 2 ways, right? The technical integration, sure, we can, we can create some kind of a rough timeline from sort of, starting an integration to when it's going to complete. Obviously, there's various different elements involved with an integration. However, with regards to compliance now, this is something that can vary. Obviously a compliance review does take time. There are times where a compliance review may be short, and it passes all our compliance checks pretty quickly. But then there are other times where there'll be several sort of communications and discussions about various things with regards to compliance. So, I mean, circling back to the actual question, is there an average expected timeline? I would say probably not. Once compliance is complete, and obviously liquidity as well, because that's another thing that can, that there has to be a lot of communication about, then we could potentially create a timeline from completing compliance and liquidity and any other items to integration. So yeah, I mean, it's very hard to pinpoint an average timeline on it, but for the integration side, potentially, yeah, we can.
Just varies project by project,
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Awesome. So question for Brian, is margin trading a desired feature for the Beaxy team? Not right away, of course, but is it something that the team might strive for down the road? Will it ever be possible for US users? And do you believe that margin trading will bring back volume, since very few exchanges have this?
So we're obviously very interested in some form of lending or margin trading. In the United States, this is actually quite complicated to do. To do margin trading in the United States basically means one of four models. The first model is to be a licensed commodities exchange, of which there are only a tiny number, the CME and ICE-backed being the two largest and the only ones that have any significant volume. And of course, they're only open to really institutional investors. The next way is to be an alternative trading system, an ATS, that's run by a broker-dealer. The third way to do it is to have lending licenses. Lending licenses is the way that Coinbase has done this in the United States. And that cost Coinbase millions of dollars to pursue those lending licenses and took nearly a year of work. So the fourth way is to allow for lending on the exchange from user to user, so that users would be able to borrow assets from other users on the exchange and then trade borrowed assets. This fourth way, we're actively looking at it from a compliance perspective, because it would allow users to gain yield by lending their assets when they weren't trading them, and it would allow other users to borrow those assets and trade with borrowed assets. So those are the four ways to do it in the United States. We're only going to do this if we can do it in a compliant way. We are very interested in it, but understand that all four ways that I laid out are complicated and they're going to take time. So right now, I would say that the fourth method is the one that we're most likely to pursue, assuming that we can pass all of our compliance checks, but it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow or next week.
Fantastic. Brian, you're getting slammed with questions here, man. But another question for you is, how many new fiat currencies will be added besides USD? And along with that, which fiat currencies will pairs be added for?
I'm actually going to throw that one to Naeem, since he's done all the work.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of fiat currencies, obviously USD has been added. We have another 5 fiat currencies on the way, along with the US dollar. We have the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, the euro, the British pound, and the Japanese yen. That makes Beaxy one of a very small number of exchanges globally to offer the 6 major global currencies as a crypto to fiat quote pair. As for which currencies will be added, well, to begin with, we will begin with Bitcoin and Ethereum pairs and monitor the situation as it goes along. So, we're more than open to adding more fiat pairs, but obviously as circumstances permit.
Perfect. Thanks, Naeem.
No problem.
Brian, generally speaking, how does the token's price decline affect the exchange as a business?
Well, certainly we're all very disappointed and somewhat frustrated with the price of the Beaxy token. We don't use the token as part of our business financing. The token is not part of our day-to-day funds for the exchange. The exchange is funded by our investors. So we are not selling the token. We're not trading the token actively. So the price of the token is set by the market. So it's disappointing to us that the token price has been going down, especially given all of the work that we've done since the launch, well, leading up to and since the launch of Beaxy 2.0. We've added many, many features. We've expanded globally. We've added many users to the exchange that weren't on the user before. We've seen month-over-month growth in volumes and in revenue on the exchange. But the token's price is set by the market. And the unfortunate fact is that there are about 100 users who have a large enough stake of the token to affect its price in a serious way in one direction or the other. Now, one group of those users has staked their tokens in the loyalty program, STK. We have more tokens staked in the loyalty program than was ever true under Beaxy 1.0. Another group of users has made a different choice and has been, periodically or systematically selling the token. So none of us are happy about that. We think that the benefits of the business will ultimately win out as we continue to grow the business and grow our revenues over time. But the price is set by the market. We're not actively participating in that price setting because there would be conflict of interest issues there.
Fantastic, fantastic. This one was geared towards Brian, but I'm actually going to ask all of us here. There's a question that was posed. How has Beaksy's approach changed in the past 6 months? From my end, everything has changed. We've done everything we can to pivot and create a very safe, reliable, compliant exchange that users in the US and globally can come and trade and know that they're trading on a legitimate exchange. I get very frustrated and worked up when I look at a lot of these crypto exchanges that pop up left and right every other day, and their volume numbers are through the roof on these, websites and this and that, when we all really know that they're just wash trading and faking volume. It's hard for me to want to go put money there or want to trade there if I were a trader. So what we've tried to do is make a product that is for the user and safe and transparent for the users that come and trade with us. Our technology stack has changed. We have great leadership on the board, bringing Brian in and a couple other mentors and advisors. I really think that we're on the right track to being where we want to be. I'm going to pass it off to Brian next.
Yeah, I think that we like any startup face a lot of challenges every single day, but our approach has been to try to build the best product that we can, and I think our product is actually quite good at this point. With the impending launch of international Fiat, with all the mobile features that we have, with the increasing number of listings as we continue to get good listings, high quality listings onto the exchange, with increasing liquidity with our liquidity partners. We're trying to improve the exchange every single day, and that's an approach that I expect to continue.
Yeah, Brian, I think it's important to note the goal has not changed, right? I think we've had the goal in mind since the day we started. I think the approach should be dynamic, right? Just like when you set out in marketing and you start off with a new campaign, rarely do you get it right on the first try, right? So it's super important that we are dynamic with our approach because, if we get stuck in our ways, and never adapt, then that leads you on a quick path to failure, right? So the goals have not changed, right? But the process to getting there is dynamic.
So Bay, I think that leads directly into a question for you. What's the current target audience from a marketing perspective, and what are we doing to reach them?
Yeah, so I'm going to focus on two target audiences. I really think that there are three, but the last one is kind of out of reach. That's more institutional, bigger, clients, that hedge funds, et cetera. I think the two that we are most focused on right now are retail, which are your customers that, a good example is recently when, Doge ran up and everyone found out about it on TikTok, right? And there was a rush. How do those people find out about a crypto exchange to go buy Doge, right? Type into Google, or scrolling on Instagram. That's where paid media or paid marketing, really comes into play. You need to be there in front of them, right? And then I think you have your middle tier, which is kind of, almost a person like me, right? Been here since late 2016, early 2017 or before, and really focused on the value behind an exchange, right? Does it have trading competitions? Does it have the perks that I want? Even maybe even listings, right? If I want to trade a specific hot new asset. So I think that and the way, that you kind of reach those people is maybe they won't switch, maybe it's not making them to switch, but it is, they do have an off ramp, right? They do have an on ramp, and Beaxy can be that point, right? I think that now that we, with the imminent release of international fiat currencies, that's another point of less friction. And that's another way to, move your money in and out. So maybe the question isn't so much about, oh, how do we get them to switch? Because me personally, at one point I had 10 accounts, right? But what am I using to move my money on and off? How am I getting my money in and out? There's only one place I go, right? And I think that Beaxy can be an option and a serious contender. So that's really the short answer. A lot more goes into that, but I think those are the target audiences and kind of what we're doing to attract them.
So Nick, we have a user question here. Does Beaxy plan to add any recurring buy or automated portfolio management features in the future?
Yes, 100,000%. I'm often asked by family members and friends, how's the best way I can get involved? And I think having something like a recurring buy that just happens on its own and you don't have to worry about it is a really nice feature to have. So 100,000% we are adding that in, and we're also have some plans and some partnerships we're working on that will have and help with automated portfolio features coming very soon. So the simple answer is yes. And I think it's a fantastic idea. It's a great tool for people to use, and it just makes it easier to continue to accumulate crypto. I'm going to flip it back to you, Brian. Recently, it was announced in the news that one of the crypto exchanges from the U.S. has obtained a banking license. And this would actually be the first time that a crypto exchange in U.S. history is legally considered as a bank. What are your thoughts on this in general? And do you think that Beaxy Exchange could be following the same path? And if so, how could that benefit our users?
Couple things to unpack there. One of them is that the exchange itself did not actually become a bank. They created a bank in one of the US states. So that bank must be, for regulatory reasons, separate from the crypto exchange. So the exchange itself is not the bank, but they own a bank. And that bank allows them to do something that I talked about earlier, which is to lend crypto, because a bank is a registered licensed lender. So that's one of the fundamental biggest benefits of having a banking license. It really gets down to margin and lending. Will Beaxy follow that path? Honestly, probably not. A banking license costs millions of dollars in regulatory capital to put together, plus many, many months of putting together the applications and getting through the regulatory process. We are partnered with great financial institutions like Prime Trust for holding fiat. Certainly, I already talked about ways in which we can provide margin or margin-like services to our customers that I don't think require a banking license or lending licenses. So we are going to be doing that. But the likelihood is that if we approach a higher level of regulatory scrutiny in the United States, it would likely be either as a commodities exchange, what's called a DCO, DCM, or as a alternative trading system under a broker-dealer. So those to me seem like better routes for the way in which we run the business than having a banking license, which really just solves the lending problem. But I understand why they did it. And I understand that right now, of course, the cost is out of our reach. But beyond that, I think that I would aim for different regulatory approvals rather than a bank license.
Yep, fantastic. Another question that I want to kind of bring up here is, you know, there have been several questions on the price of the Beaxy token. And one that's been asked frequently is if there's anything that can be done by Beaxy itself to protect the token holders from, you know, quote unquote insider or insiders from market dumping, and I'm saying this from quote market dumping of the token, and whether Beaxy itself is able to protect the coin value.
Yeah.
Brian, what are your thoughts?
So a couple of things. One, I'll talk about other tokens before I talk about the Beaxy token. We take adverse market impact and market manipulation very, very seriously. We have a series of monitoring activities and operational processes that watch for excessive market impact and for market manipulation. And we routinely, unfortunately, have to stop market manipulators from manipulating markets. This is, of course, true on every crypto exchange, and many crypto exchanges don't do a very good job of it, but we try to do the best that we can on all pairs on the exchange. Specific to the Beaxy token, because there are about 100 token holders who have enough of the token, the Beaxy token, that they can massively impact the price by simply by selling into that market. We do restrict how much market impact those token holders can have at any given point in time. That policy is on our website. You can look at it. It's somewhat restrictive for those users, but it does not apply to resting orders by those users. It only applies to aggressive or crossing orders by those users. So, you know, everybody has the right to trade on the exchange. That's one of the abilities that we give you by being a member by being a customer and a member of the Beaxy Exchange. But we don't want giant market impact. So the policy exists to really maintain market structure and to allow for a more fair price discovery. And that's why it's there. But again, if those users want to put resting orders on the exchange, they're absolutely allowed to do that under the policy as it exists today. Now, can Beaxy itself protect the coin value? Well, there are cases under which buybacks are approved and allowed. If we were going to do a buyback and we're going to do a strong buying campaign into the market, we would announce it ahead of time. So as I said earlier, in general, we are not participating in the Beaxy token price except to prevent arbitrage, because arbitrage is, again, a market structure thing that we try to keep in line. But that's the only thing that we're doing, and only occasionally, only when things are significantly out of line. So if we were to do any sort of coordinated buying in the Beaxy token, we would announce it ahead of time.
Okay, thanks, Brian. So Naeem, we'll wrap it up here on a layup. Does Beaxy allow transfers and withdrawals of crypto or USDC into GBP?
So I think this ties in, well, from how I understand it, it ties in with a question asked earlier on regarding fiat. GBP is one of the currencies that is slated to be listed on Beaxy. With that follows full deposit and withdrawals. So the short answer is yes, it will allow for withdrawals into GBP withdrawals even. As for crypto, or USDC into GBP. If you're referring to some kind of a conversion where you withdraw crypto and it's converted into GBP, I'm not too sure about that, and I don't think so. But GBP deposits and withdrawals, yes.
Fantastic. Well, that kind of wraps things up, guys. You know, we definitely appreciate everybody's questions, and we hope we were able to provide the answers you were looking for. And as always, you know, feel free to reach out to us with further questions and further answers. And if this is something that you guys enjoy and want us to do more frequently, just let us know. You know, we like to be as available as possible. So thank you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.